are back again with University of Notre Dame head football coach Brian Kelly. Coach, welcome back. I think it was over the weekend. You signed an extension with University of Notre Dame to be here for another 6
years.
6 years, right?
If they have me.
And yeah, right. And I think that's something that's really interesting to me. And I understand your love for this place, but maybe the other people that are at home might not understand what it is about Notre Dame that keeps you here. Why don't you want to go and pursue a career in the NFL or go somewhere else? Why stay at Notre Dame?
Well, first of all, the university and the what the university stands for. It's first of all the preeminent Catholic institution, and so that means something. The spirit that's here, that's on campus, can't be duplicated anywhere else. And so, as an Irish Catholic from Boston, Massachusetts, I can feel that every single day while I'm here. And so that's probably where it starts. It's not where it finishes, and it's not just who we are, but it's part of who we are, and that's an important distinction. It's the type of student that we attract here, a student that is committed in the classroom but is involved in everything. Look at our Saturday football games. Across the country, many students don't even attend the games anymore. Right. Not here at Notre Dame. It's part of the fabric of Notre Dame is football. And if you really break it down, Joe, it's faith, it's football, and it's probably the academics that are really the three distinctions that make Notre Dame unique and make it, for me, the place that I want to be. And then college. Right. The ability really for a guy like myself to shop for the groceries and cook the meal. Right. Very difficult to do that in the NFL. In the NFL, they're telling you that's your roster, go coach your roster. And when you've done it for 25 years, you'd much rather have the control of picking your team and being able to do that. And very rarely do you have that in the NFL. You talk a little bit about, you have 25 years experience. You've been recruiting all that time. Do you still get the same fire about recruiting? Is it still fun to go on the road and meet these kids and their families, or is it more fun for you on Saturdays? I think what's exciting for me is the ability to talk about Notre Dame and what it can do for them. Mm-hmm. And so when I go in, Joe, I don't really go in until we vetted out those guys that really understand Notre Dame. I'm not interested in talking to somebody that doesn't get Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be fun for me. What is exciting for me is when I can talk to somebody that understands what Notre Dame can do for them. That's where it gets exciting, because this isn't like selling used cars. This is changing somebody's life. And if I can do that and articulate that to somebody, that's exciting to me. But there's nothing like running out of that tunnel on Saturday. If you're asking me to compare the two, recruiting over playing on Saturday, I'll take playing on Saturday any day. And I don't blame you. There's something really unique about that place over there. No question. Now, throughout your entire career, you've been known as one of the finest head coaches and really bosses in that manager sense in the country, and I think that's a huge compliment to you. But you've been able to attract high quality assistants throughout your career, and it's not just because you're at Notre Dame. How is it that you build, the best staff in the nation, as I feel we have here, and then really you have a couple guys leave and you bring in guys that are just as good, if not better, each and every year. How do you go about that? Well, I think it's important that you create a working atmosphere where each one of your coaches is left to do their job. I don't micromanage. I set up a plan that allows our coaches to really I've always believed this. You can't buy in unless you're allowed to weigh in. So our coaches are allowed to weigh in everything that we do in this program. Now, I'll make the final decision, but they truly have a partnership and an ownership in what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So by word of mouth or knowing that when they work for Coach Kelly, they get an opportunity to truly be involved in everything that happens within the program. And I think that's what's been attractive. That's what's kept continuity on the staff. And that's why, Brian Van Gorder, who was my defensive coordinator in 1991, wants to come back. Mike Denbrock, who was with me in the early 90s, Keith Gilmore, who was with me in the early 90s, Mike Elston, who's been with me now 13 years. So we've got great continuity, and then we can attract young coaches that are ascending in their career. And I think it's really that the ability to give them the opportunity to do their job.
Is that something you've kind of always had, that decentralization, letting people kind of go and do their thing? Is that, or it's kind of hard to check your ego and let guys do their work, right?
Well, I think it starts with where I began, and that is as a Division II head football coach, where I had to do all the jobs.
Right.
So I became quite comfortable with knowing all the jobs. So when you know all the jobs, it's easy to give up that control because you know what that job looks like. I think what happens is a lot of times when people ascend to this position, they don't know what those other jobs look like, so they micromanage them.
Right.
I don't know what that job looks like, so I'm going to keep my eye on it. I know what those jobs look like and what at the end result should be relative to the work. And so I've been able to let that go because of my background.
You know, I think we mentioned this earlier in our earlier interview, but how do you feel since, whatever, late 1980s, recruiting has changed to become kind of the behemoth, if you will, that it is today? What exactly have you seen in that transition?
Well, I think a lot of things have changed. I think, where you can create your own brand and the promotion that happens now. Social media has made a big difference where you can be on Twitter and talk about, your own accomplishments. Highlight videos were VHS tapes. Now you just have to put on Huddle and Twitter,
right,
and you can get a highlight video. A lot of self-promotion, which concerns you a little bit because you like your guys to be humble. Mm-hmm. I think recruiting is certainly from that standpoint one that you have to be concerned with, that you don't want this. Look, if today's your best day in your college career, that's not a good thing. Right. You want other things to be better than recruiting and the signing day. So you're concerned in that respect. But on the other hand, there's a lot more things you can find out about kids.
Right.
So I think it's a trade-off, but it definitely has changed over the last 25 years.
I guess now, selfishly, I have to ask you this question. But looking back on Team 127 and what we went through this past year, do you have a favorite moment? Maybe a favorite few moments, if you have to, from this past year.
Well, I think there were several. I think probably the first one was the Texas game, and the way our team played with such energy, passion, and very few times do you have a team that has such a belief that they're just going to take over a football game. And there was such a belief that our team was, going to take over a game. And that doesn't happen very often. It doesn't matter who you play. You could play a weak opponent and you don't have that feeling. But that game itself, if you could bottle that feeling, that's hard to get. I think the Texas game, we certainly had that. And I would probably say, when you look at it, the one game that probably stands out is the Temple game, where we just kept fighting. It wasn't the prettiest, but I just loved the grittiness of our football team that just kept competing every single play. And those two games in particular say a lot about the character of our football team during the year.
No, and I think I kind of echo that sentiment. Those are two of my favorite memories, and obviously it was such a blast playing for you, and I really can't thank you for that opportunity enough. But now I think we're going to wrap this segment. We'll see you again in a little bit. I think
I'll be back, Joe. I'm not going anywhere.
I know. I was going to say we're in your building, but.